Vermont, Duke, 7:10 Eastern on CBS. Duke 11.5 point favorite here, total 132.5. Vermont have, profiles as a team that could potentially pull off an upset like this. We saw Duke go down to Lehigh and Mercer in 2012 and 2014 as a top 3 seed. Could they go down as a top 4 seed here? Potentially. Vermont is going to slow the game down regardless of who they play. This game's going to be super slow paced. They're 349th in adjusted tempo. They never turn the ball over, 11th in that category, and they never go after offensive rebounds. Bottom 20 in that department because they want to get back in trend, want to get back on defense and prevent transition opportunities at all costs. And by the way, Duke doesn't want to play fast. So this game should be played completely in the half court. And Vermont chucks up a ton of threes. 35th in the country in three-point attempt rate. Slow pace, half court game with a lot of threes. Now, they're not a great three-point shooting team. So, that's not ideal. Duke is. So in a game where you're hoping for 3-point variance, you're definitely the underdog to, make more or make them at a higher clip than Duke. But this is what you want as an underdog. Half-court game, 3-point variance. And you hope you get Matt Veretto back. I think they need him. He's a capable shooter that they need at full strength. But the Vermont defense is legit. They have 2 bona fide, defenders inside and out that could play on, are high major defensive caliber players. Bogues struggles at times on the offensive end, but can blanket on, blanket guards on the perimeter. If you're looking for comps, by the way, Vermont, they did beat a pair of top 100 tournament teams. They beat Yale and Charleston on a neutral court, but they did lose by 22 on the road to Virginia Tech. It's a bit concerning, another ACC team. The question for me is, this Vermont defense, if they're hitting threes, their defense is going to keep them in the game. If they're not, and I think that they can match up with a lot of what Duke does. Filipowski is the roll man. I wrote about this in the upset. Does worry me. I don't know who can really guard him in that role. But can Vermont avoid the long droughts on offense? Like, that's what worries me, because you watch them even in the America East, and this is a big step up. They're going to be at a big talent disadvantage. They're going to be at a big athletic disadvantage at a number of spots in the perimeter. And if they go on long droughts, they're not going to be able to recover. Can they do that? It's tough. I wouldn't hate anyone picking Vermont to win this game outright. I might bet them. Calabrese, can you sway us one way or the other?
Yeah, I think this actually plays into Duke's hands here. When you look at some of the metrics that measure, pace, playing faster, playing slower, they actually rank 7th nationally in slower than normal games, according to Mia. Vermont, as you mentioned,
their worst games this year have been teams that have cooked them in transition, right?
Exactly. And Vermont's not going to do that. They're 349th in adjusted pace. Duke also didn't look past teams that they were supposed to beat down the stretch. They're 4-1 in their last 5 as double-digit favorites, so they maintain their focus in that regard. And I agree with everything right up to the point where you say the Catamounts shoot a lot of threes. They don't make them. They're 200th in 3-point percentage. So I think in terms of them hanging around, they got to make 10 threes in this game. And I'm just not banking on it. Having watched them play a decent amount this year, they just don't have that knockdown shooter. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the Colgate comp, where it's like, where are the shooters that we've been, accustomed to seeing? Usually Vermont had 2 or 3 guys who could really scare you or get hot. And then also just in terms of momentum, Duke has solidly entrenched themselves as a top 10 team since February 1st. They have the offense to beat really good half-court defense and crash the glass if their shots aren't falling. So I'm fine laying the 11 here. This is not a vintage Vermont team, in my opinion. I think you saw it with their struggles in the America East. I know that their overall record looked great, but they had some dicey moments along the way. So I'm going to go ahead and fade the Catamounts.
Greg, any thoughts here?
I lean Duke to cover the number at 12. I just don't see anything truly profile-wise with Vermont that makes me want to believe that this is a team that has staying power in this tournament. I stuck your points on why they are kind of fitting the key categories of teams that can do it. Makes sense to me. until you talk about how they're not a good shooting team, and there isn't an offensive player I can really believe in like as the engine of the face of a team that's going to go beat Duke. Duke's been awesome against non-power conference schools this year, by the way, like 7-0 all blowouts this year against and they played a couple teams that aren't like horrible, like LaSalle, Hofstra are not terrible basketball teams, and those were not competitive games. Obviously, this game isn't going to be played at Cameron Indoor, but you look at what's went wrong for Duke too, right? Like they haven't lost 2 straight games to end the season in a very, very long time. That NC State game was just weird. Like they couldn't hit a shot. They shot 5 for 20 from 3. It's just one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country. They shot 57% from the line, didn't get to the free throw line much, only 14 attempts. The notable thing from that game was not that they couldn't make a shot, not that they lost to me. The notable thing to me was Shire really condensed his rotation in a must-win game. And I liked that a lot because we didn't have to deal with 20 Ryan Young minutes for no reason anymore. We got the 5 stars who are all next-level players playing 34 to 40 minutes. I actually think that bodes well for the NCAA tournament here. So I like Duke. I don't love against the spread, but I am going to be playing just a unit on -12. And if you're looking for any crazy long shot, something to juice up a number, I think Duke money line at -850 is not a bad juicer.